Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to be building this to-do app here. We're going to be using HTML, CSS and JavaScript, as well as Firebase for the database. So this app basically tracks some tasks that you input here and you submit into the app. So I made this app to demonstrate the sign in and login functions of Firebase. So we're going to be demonstrating how to use Firebase authentication, how to log in, how to create a user, and how to store that user in a database, and how to verify that it's them logging into your app later when they use the app. And we're also going to be using Firestore to store the list items so that we can retrieve them when a user deletes them from their profile. So our app currently looks like something like this. So I'm going to be showing you how to build this web application from scratch and how to deploy it to the internet using Netlify. Our app consists of a login page. You can log in here if you have an account on our app. If you don't, you'll need to go here and sign up, register, and once you've registered, you can go back here and you'll be able to log in using your email and password. Like this. And then once you're logged in, you'll be able to add these things, tasks, to your task list and remove them. Without wasting any more time, let's get started creating the app. Another thing I need to mention is that this works on mobile as well. You can actually save this app to your mobile device and access it using your mobile device, and it looks good. So here's a demo. Here's how it looks, and you can basically use it on your Android device or iOS device or any kind of device you want, desktop, mobile, tablet, anything. Before we get started making the app, please like the video, subscribe, and say hi in the comments down below. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to be using Visual Studio. We're going to start with a folder called TaskSync.com, and in that folder what I'm going to have is basically the logo for the app and our icon. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this to Visual Studio so that we can start coding. We'll start by creating the sign up page, and then the login page, and then the dashboard, and then we will link our app to the database. If you don't already have these extensions, please download them because I'll be using them throughout the video. I'll be using Lifesaver and Emmet, the Emmet extension. So please download these two to speed up your workflow while following in this tutorial. Now, the first thing you need to do is create an index.html file. I'm sure you probably knew that already, but let's get started. And then using Emmet, create your boilerplate for the HTML. And then I'm going to give it a title of TaskSync. That's the name of our application. And in the body, what I'm basically going to have in the body is divide our app into multiple sections. The first section is going to be a div for navigation. Within the navigation div, we're going to have our nav bar. And within our nav bar, we're going to have an image which will contain our logo.png. Always leave alternative text to your images so that search engines know what your image is about. And the ID for our logo is going to be logo. Within the nav bar, we're going to have an anchor tag which will redirect us to signup.html, but for now we're going to have it redirect to nothing. And within that anchor tag, we're going to have a button with the class button, and the text within our button is going to be sign up. This is going to be the button we use to register for our service. So right now I'm going to launch live server to see what this looks like in a browser. We don't have much yet, but I believe what we have right now is enough to warrant a look at the browser. So let's see how this thing looks on the browser. This is what it looks like. We've got our logo here and we've got our button here. It's not too bad, but it's not styled, so we're going to style that in a bit. But first, we're going to continue creating our sign up page. Now here I'm going to create a div to contain our app, and I'm going to call that div container. Inside that div, we're going to have two divs. The first div is going to contain our text, which will contain a heading of achieve your goals with us, like that. And below that heading, we're going to have a paragraph, and that paragraph is going to be, I'm just going to copy and paste it. I'm going to be copying this, Control C, and then I'm going to paste this right there. And within our container, the second item we're going to have within our container is a form, and that form is going to be within a div called form, and we're going to have an href tag of login. After login, we're going to have our form, and the action for now can be hash. And within our form, we're going to have a label for the email, and within that label we're going to have an input of type email, placeholder, enter your email, and ID of email. So the next item, we're going to have another label, but this time for the password, and within that label we're going to have an input of type password, placeholder is going to be password, and then ID is going to be again password. And with that, I believe our form is done. No, I think I overlooked something. I have to add required here so that our form doesn't submit until all these fields have values. So what I'm going to do next is, within the form, is input the submit button. So we're going to have another input of type submit this time, and we're going to give it an ID of sign, let's say login. We're going to give it an ID of login, and we're going to save that, and we're going to open our site, and as you can see, this is how it looks. It's not too good, but we're going to style it and everything is going to be okay. So just follow along and the end result will look much better. So next, what we'll need to do is link our style sheet here. We're going to go into the head tag and we're going to say link href, and then we're going to say styles.css, and then we're going to say rel, which is the relationship between the files, and that is style sheet, like this. And then we save that, and then we go into the files and then we create that style sheet. It's going to be styles.css, and then we save that, and then we open it, then we close the files, and then here is where we're going to start styling our website here. So what I'm going to do is, since I'm doing CSS, I'm going to put my website here, and I'm going to reduce the size of this thing so that I can see what's going on while I'm editing the code. So I'm going to start by selecting the entire body, and the font family I'm going to set to Poppins. If Poppins is not available, we're going to use sans serif. The font size is going to be extra large. That's how I want it. I want it to be extra large. And then the box sizing is going to be border box. The height is going to be 100 VH. The width 100%. And then I'm going to select our navigation tab, navigation. And within our navigation, if I remember correctly, within our navigation div, we have this nav item. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to set its display to flex so that the two items are besides one another instead of on top of one another. So after that, I'm going to set the margin to automatic. I'm going to set the padding to 20 pixels so that there's padding, and I'm going to justify content space between so that the remaining space is put between the elements. And then I'm going to set the max width to 1100 pixels. I'm going to save that, and I'm going to open this, and as you can see, our nav bar is looking much better. But as you can see, our image is kind of big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select our nav item. Now I'm going to select the image within the nav, and then the image, and I'm going to set its height to 50 pixels, like that. That looks much better. Next, I'm going to style the button. For the button, the background color is going to be green. Then I'm going to give it a color of white. Then I'm going to give it a font size 16 pixels. Going to remove the border and the outline. I'm going to give it a border radius of 4 pixels, a height of 50 pixels, same as the logo, a width of 80 pixels and a font size, a font weight, let's say a font weight of bold, which is somewhere around 700. And as you can see, our button right there is looking much better. So I made a typo here. Instead of space between, this should be space between, not space between. So as you can see, our button and our logo are now okay. So we're done with that part of our styling of this logo. So we're going to move on to the text and the form underneath it. So what we're going to do for the container that contains container, we're going to set its display to block so that the elements within are on top of one another, and we're going to set its max width to 110 pixels, and the margin is going to be auto. Justify content, space around, space, place the space between them around, and then we're going to set the padding to, let's say, 15 pixels. I want to select the text within the div, the text within our container, and I want to select the H3 and as well as the P, the paragraph. For selecting those, I'm going to align them to the center. I'm going to center both those so that they appear more styled. Next, I'm going to select the form and the H3 tag within it, and I'm going to underline it. I'm going to create a border. Let's set its font size to a bigger value. Let's say maybe 35 pixels. Make it bigger, and let's say its bottom is solid green, and let's say 2 pixels. I'm not selecting. I'm selecting the form and then the H3 tag within it. I'm selecting the form and then I'm selecting the H3 tag within it. And since this one is now styled, we're going to move on to the input fields. For the input fields, I'm going to grab them all, and I'm going to set their width first to 100% so that they take up the entire screen. Their height is going to be 3 rem to make them a bit bigger. Their font size is going to be 1.2 rem to make the text within them much bigger. We're going to add a padding, now a margin of 5 pixels, and a padding left, on the left of our text. We need some space, so we're going to put 5 pixels on the left of our spaces. And as you can see, our form is kind of looking good now. So basically what I'm going to do is remove the outline and remove the border, then set the background color to something like beige. Then when I save that, as you can see, it's looking nice and but let's see if we can darken this a bit. Yeah, like that. That looks much better. And I've noticed that our font size is still quite small now, so I'll say 1.5. And as you can see, our forms, our input fields are looking much better. They are looking much better. So next we are going to style the button. So what I'm going to do now is select the form. After selecting the form, I'm going to select the input of type submit, because that's our submit button. And for submit button, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the background color to green. The background color is going to be green, and its color is going to be white. The text color is going to be white. Yeah, something like that. And its font weight is going to be bold at 700, like that. And I'm going to copy this. As it is, and I'm going to select this button on its hover state, and I'm going to change its background color to green, but a darker shade of green when we hover above it, like this, so that when I hover above it, I can see that is less noticeable. So I'm going to reduce it even more, so like that, as you can see, to create that effect. That's what hover does. And one last time, I'm going to paste this again, and I'm going to select it in its active state, and I'm going to set the transform scale of 0.95. Basically, I'm going to reduce its size by 5% every time it is clicked, like this. As you can see, when you click it, it moves to show that it is being clicked. And now that I think about it, we kind of have to do the same for our sign in button here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the B button, and I'm going to say hover. In its hover state, I'm going to copy the same background color I have here, and I'm going to select the button again, but this time in its active state, and I'm going to transform it the same way, Control C, then Control V, and then Control S. And then, as you can see, when you click on this thing, you get this effect. So now, as you can see, our input form is done. This is the exact same form we have on the live site, and this is the exact same form we have on. Oh, another thing I noticed that the title is like bigger on this one. So what I can do is try to make the title bigger on our form as well. To do that, I'll simply select the H3 tag, our H3 tag, and I'm going to set its font size to, let's say, 35 pixels, like that. And when I update that one, I update it, and as you can see, everything is okay now. So we are done styling our form, and now comes the fun part. We are going to link our folder to our Firebase database. But no, before you do that, in order to verify a user in Firebase, we need to first create that user. So this form is not the correct form to start with, but we need a sign up page. For a sign up page, what we're going to need to do is quickly go to the files, create new, and then here click on sign up.html, save that, then go back to our index folder, copy everything as it is, copy, and then just paste it here. And back in our index, our original file, we are going to update this link here to go to sign up.html, and here our h3 tag, instead of saying login, it's going to say register, like that. It's going to say register, and our button at the top, what's going on here? I might have changed not the correct one. The sign up one is the one that we're modifying, and our button here is to say login, and we have to link it back to the index.html file. And here, instead of login, it's going to say register, like that. And we're going to need to modify these, but we'll modify them in time. So yes, what we have right now, we have our login page, and when we click on sign up, it redirects to the register page. We're going to need to increase or change these input fields, but that is very simple. What we need to do is go to the top of our form here, and what we're going to do is create another label for username, and we're going to create an input of type text, and it's going to be placeholder of username, and ID is going to be username, and these two is going to be required. Then we're going to close that, we're going to save it. And another thing we need at the bottom of the password field is a confirmation of our password. So label password confirmation. I'm going to skip the password confirmation field this time around because it makes things complicated, but I am going to change the ID of our button here. Instead of saying login, it is to say sign up, like this. And here's what we have now. We have our username, our input, our email, our password, and our submit button. So now we have like two pages. We have our login page and we have our sign up page. So here's where we're going to start linking our Firebase database, our Firebase authentication. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to make these forms functional, how to make sure that when we input text on these fields, it actually sends it to a database and verify it and log in our user. So like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell to get notified when I release the next video. Thanks for watching. Have a great one.